Welcome back. Now, following recent media reports that allege various transgressions at the South African police services, this morning we turn our focus to the state of police administration in the country. Now, weekend media reports allege that the South African police services spent millions of rands on equipment that it allegedly does not have the expertise to use. Now, these include the procurement of grabbers, drones, and precise mobile location vehicles. The reports, which quote an Inspector General of the Intelligence report, further alleged that there may have been manipulation of tender processes to favor certain service providers over others. Now, the latest reports also follow the Gauteng High Court's decision to deny a state information technology agency, that's SETA, a bid to appeal an earlier court decision that a contract for the maintenance of telephonic services for the SABC had been illegally awarded. So to help us unpack this and some of the other reported developments within the SABC, we are joined by Eldred de Klerk, who is a policing expert and director at the Center for Security and Intelligence, PRACY. Eldred, good morning. Thanks so much for your time.
Good morning, Sakina, and good morning, Leanne, and good morning to your viewers.
Eldred, let's just start with the general state of policing in South Africa. You know, we just were going through this in our trending topics, and it's also in our news report this morning. Esther Mahlangu, a national treasure, for lack of a better description. She was robbed at her home. And if you drive around, we in Joburg, for example, you can just see the evidence of people looting, all sorts of things going on, quite apart from the harm that is visited on people, on their person, on their premises. All of these things have become the lived reality of South Africans. So how would you describe the state of policing at the moment?
Sakina, and it's proper that you use the word policing because policing extends to more than the institution of the police. It also is what local government in particular do, who's responsible for cleaning up the crime in the crime, for maintenance, and for ensuring that the state of our cities and our dorpies and our streets are habitable. That's the first thing. And then you have provincial government. I see now you were talking about e-hailing services that may likely not be available to us in the face of dire public transport. That's a provincial government function. They have to ensure that those transport providers who provide a public transport service are properly regulated. So it is the state of policing, which, as we both agree, I think extends way beyond the police. The police themselves as an institution seems to have reached their 25-year hiatus. They're done with 25 years now. Now we need to have a fresh look at policing. We need to ensure that we transform this police, and we need to ensure that we flatten the structure and subject them to public and political governance. Because in the face of the wasteful and fruitful expenditure that you've been reporting on and that we read over the weekend, that's a lack of public and political governance.
So before we even get to that, Eldred, just something that also jumped out at me, about 4 billion rand of the policing budget from National Treasury that was allocated for the last financial year. 4 billion rand of that was unspent. And it turns out that the money that was unspent was designated for visible policing and maintaining public order. And these are the things that most South Africans actually complain about. So how does that happen?
Well, yeah, how does it happen in the face of the fact that we have a lack of public confidence in the police simply because they haven't used that money to continue to build relationships with us? In addition to needing more police officers out and about on the street, we need them out of their vehicles. We need them engaging various public sectors. We need them speaking to the vulnerable and ensuring that they build relationships of trust and that they understand the level and the nature of the vulnerability of each and every sector within our society. This is where the money should have been spent. It should have been spent on police walking the beat. It should have been spent on changing those uniforms from combat fatigues or operational fatigues that they're called to proper dress uniforms that inspires presence, that inspires confidence, and makes the officers proud to be wearing not their pajamas, but actually a proper police uniform. And this is something about the leadership of the police. They seemed bereft of ideas and they seemed visionless. And more importantly, the police is not located within a national security strategy that clearly positions their role and their function and their purpose beyond what they say they do, which is to maintain law and order and uphold public order. There's a lot more that police need to do to prevent, and this is where they should be working sector by sector to understand the vulnerability, and that's where the money should be spent. And the money can also easily be spent on upgrading and upskilling the commanders within the police, because they, as supervisors and leaders within the police, need to take responsibility for the state of policing.
So, Eldred, you have the police minister saying, well, we need more money. And this is, of course, because you need to bring new police officers online. Due to COVID, unfortunately, that plan seems to have been scuppered. But in the face of that, firstly, you are returning that 4 billion rand to Treasury, but you need more money. And then the police waste 100 million rand on technology that they cannot use. Now, again, how does this happen? You buy drones, and everybody knows that for you to use drones, you need people who actually are certificated to operate those drones. Otherwise, what are you going to do with them? How are you going to use them? Let's not even talk about the technical specifications and what it can do, where, how. We're not even going into that. So you have the drones, you have the grabbers, which have been a matter of contention given what had happened a few years ago at Parliament and, of course, at the ANC's elective conference. So how do we find ourselves in this situation? How does a police service that is in dire need of resources actually get to waste 100 million rand on technology that they cannot use?
Two things, Sakina. One, there's no shortage of ideas and there's no shortage of funders wanting to sell you the latest gear and the latest technology. There's a whole military-industrial complex designed to sell to our security services, our police, and our defense force, all kinds of technology. When technology is acquired or there's a consideration to acquire this technology, you would hope that it's done against a vision of a police service that is service-orientated, that respects the law, and that ensures and upholds the dignity of all its citizens whom it serves. So you spend money against a plan, and a plan is derived from a strategy. In the absence of a strategy, you literally will be...
Eldred, I think we just lost your audio there. If you can unmute, I'm not sure, perhaps you touched a button there or something. If you can hear me, Eldred, we've lost the sound there to you. So Eldred de Klerk is a policing expert and just having a discussion on matters around policing. But we have Eldred there, just lost the audio. But we'll just try and fix that and get Eldred de Klerk back. And talking about what's been happening with the police. And incidentally, you know, you look at the issue of the grabbers and the drones that were purchased by the police. And according to reports, it would seem that a senior police officer, Inspector General of Intelligence report, actually cites that an intelligence colonel may have manipulated the bid specifications to favor a British supplier for the grabbers, for instance. And what has also been revealed is that the grabbers were used to monitor journalists and political players illegally. So all of these issues are contained in that report, and it's led to what has now been termed fruitless and wasteful expenditure of around 100 million rand within the South African police services, quite apart from the money that was returned. I believe we have Eldred back. Eldred, apologies there, we lost the audio, so I'm going to have to ask you to please just pick up on that response again.
Hi, Sakina, can you hear me?
I can hear you now, but we seem to have a
Okay.
slight delay now.
Okay, sorry about that. You were talking about these grabbers and the sort of preferred and exactly what
Well,
happens. You
really,
have
really unfortunate there. Tell you what, we're going to take a quick break while we try and sort out that line to Eldred de Klerk. And he's a policing expert and director at the Center for Security and Intelligence, Tracy. And we're talking about some of the issues regarding spending in the South African police services, but policing overall and the state of that in the country. Let's take a quick break. Just fixing that connection there to policing expert Eldred de Klerk, and we're talking about some of the reports around fruitless and wasteful expenditure in the South African police service, and this at a time when South Africans are really bearing the brunt of crime that seems to be continuing unabated at every corner. So yesterday we also heard of South Africa's Dr. Esther Mahlangu, who was attacked in her home, and this against a backdrop of a policing service that returned 4 billion rand to National Treasury, and this was money that was meant for things like visible policing. So we're having a conversation also about some of the equipment that was purchased by the South African Police Services, 100 million rand worth of technology. They were 15 surveillance drones, 12 precise mobile location vehicles, 13 grabbers that were purchased, and after all of this, it would seem some of them didn't even fit the specifications, and others would simply not be operated because there are no people qualified or certificated in the South African Police Services to use it. And this, of course, what we're talking about at the moment, and there is more, unfortunately. We have Eldred back now. Eldred, let's try this. Third time lucky, hopefully.
Apologies, Sakina. You're absolutely right. We have a whole complex of industry trying to sell not only the South African police, but every single police service and defense force around the world, all kinds of gear and tech. They all want to be your preferred service provider. But when you go into a Lucky Packet shop and you go in smartly shopping, you need to ensure that what you purchase fits into the kind of police you want, fits into your vision for the police, and actually complements the strategy you have for policing. And that you also need to ensure, this is the big thing, of course, that those who are going to be using this tech understand how it needs to be maintained, how it actually works, and understand the impact of this technology, and is properly accredited and certified to actually use that technology. And that they recognize for having achieved that level of accreditation where they can safely and publicly use whatever technology has actually been purchased. We have, though, a South African Police Service that is bereft of vision, that actually doesn't fit our national security strategy. In fact, they can't locate themselves there, and they have no particular doctrine. So all they really have is a set of tools and toys, and boys love our toys, and these toys may not be fit for purpose, and even if they are, they may then not fit a coherent strategy for their use that complements officer safety and ensures that they deliver on the promise of safety and security for all.
And speaking to that, 6 of the units are outdated and beyond repair. The units were limited to 3G use in 2022 we're in, with the present technology, of course, being 4G, and we're expecting the rollout of 5G. So here you have stuff that is just not fit for purpose. But hey, someone approved it. It was bought. And then there's, of course, the issue, Eldred, of the 160 million rand police tender, because there was a tender that was awarded for 89 million rand that was, of course, disputed. The deal was declared illegal, and it would seem as though it's now going to cost 160 million rand for the phone tender for the South African Police Services.
Absolutely. And there has been technology in good use all over the world, including in Namibia, where they've been using phone and radio service technology all built into one. And the key lesson, if you look around the region and around the world, Sakina, including a state-sponsored trip to Russia, for example, and Russia's been trending, is that they've always said that any technology they use they're concerned about the shelf life of technology. Secondly, they're concerned about the maintenance and parts for this technology. And fourthly, they're concerned about whether they have officers who's fit and qualified to use it. And they would prefer technology that they can fix themselves. And we don't have this particular vision or understanding in any of our public services, it seems. Maybe in the medical profession, we have qualified medical technologists who fix things, and technicians, I apologize. But we don't seem to have the workshop mentality within the South African Police Service that says, we purchase this technology, we will ensure that it has the longest shelf life possible and that it can change as times change. We seem to have a disposable country. We buy things, we chuck them away. And this is a concern, and it's a concern of leadership. So we need to hold the South African Police Service leadership accountable for the state of policing. And they're the ones who should technically be answering not only to Parliament, but to the very public that they serve.
So who is that leadership, and what needs to be done to overhaul this situation, Eldred? Because what is clear is that things are not working.
Absolutely. And the leadership extends all the way from the station commissioner. And unfortunately, there was a move within the South African Police Service to dumb down the role of station commissioner, who's supposed to be able to procure their own stuff locally, fix their materials, and also utilize services at a local level to ensure there's continuity of service. They seem to have taken that away and centralized this idea of efficiency at a national level. The police focus on efficiency is actually not the proper focus. Efficiency should serve the key objective of effectiveness. So the leadership extends from station commissioners to provincial commissioners, all the way through divisional commissioners. We have within the South African Police Service those who are control of finances and the budget. They actually the ones who basically are the tail wagging the dog. Yet the focus should be on operational readiness and effectiveness and spend against operational requirements, not the other way around. Trinkets serve a purpose. You don't buy trinkets because they're flashy and they actually look good. So we have divisional commissioners all the way through the accounting officer, the national commissioner, who should be held accountable for this.
Eldred, so much more to talk about, but we're out of time. But thanks so much for your time this morning. Eldred de Klerk is a policing expert and a director at the Center for Security and Intelligence, Pracy, talking about some of the problems inherent in our policing system in the country. It's time now for news.